Are investors losing faith?
Ether's down 8.5% this week. Bitcoin's down 8. Bitmine is down 20. What's happening here?
So will Bittensor TAO hit $1,000 per token in 2025? That's what we're going to answer in this video. Let's get some analysis about the overall crypto market. Again, we're going to determine the price action of Bittensor. In order to do that, we have to look at what some thought leaders are predicting for these assets, how they're thinking about the volatility, what comes next in December. We're going to talk about Subnet 31 candles. That's how we're going to look at the technology being created by the network, the fundamentals. But to answer whether or not Bittensor can hit $1,000 per token in 2025, we're going to start with Michael Saylor. Then we're going to hear from Tom Lee, who's honestly given some really accurate predictions about where tech can head. And that's going to educate our opinion on whether or not TAO can hit $1,000 per token in 2025.
Are investors losing faith in the Bitcoin movement?
No, I don't think they're losing faith. All the fundamentals are good. If you're going to be an equity investor, you have to think for yourself, and you have to have a time horizon of 4 years or longer. So if you don't have that 4-year time horizon, and if you don't want to make decisions based on fundamentals, if you simply want to park your money in a stable instrument and pick up a stable yield, you should be a credit investor. You shouldn't be an equity investor. I think the irony is the fundamentals of the industry are so much better today than they were 12 months ago.
So if you can't handle the volatility of an asset, you shouldn't invest in it. You can invest in some fixed income instrument. Bittensor is incredibly volatile. Here's a chart. It's moved up and down, right? The crypto market is selling off, and so Bittensor is getting hit. Now, what I like about the subnets that make up the Bittensor ecosystem, like Subnet 31 candles, is that they're so small, so undiscovered, liquidity is so low that they can pump in any environment. Subnets are a whole new world. Again, we're going to dive into exactly what Subnet 31 does. But what comes next in the very short term? Let's hear from Tom Lee about his forecast over the next few months. Again, this is all in order to figure out whether or not Bittensor can skyrocket and hit $1,000 per token.
Ether's down 8.5% this week. Bitcoin's down 8. Bitmine is down 20. What's happening here?
Scott, I think we're still seeing the repercussions of that April 10th crypto deleveraging event. It was the biggest deleveraging event ever. And there are still, I think, some market makers that have some balance sheet issues that are trying to raise capital. So I think that this is leading to a market that is kind of raised. Every time we get a bit of a rally, there's some capital trying to be raised. And I think that's what's suppressing crypto for now. That's, of course, going to end soon, but I think that's led to why crypto has underperformed equities since October 10th.
Is your confidence at all shaken in where we are and what you thought the prospects for an end-of-year run could be after what we've seen this week?
Well, it's never fun to see markets wobble and then stocks that are quite popular like AI and the quantums and nuclear come down so hard. But it is consistent with the idea that, we were up 6 months through October, so the market's overbought. We expected 2 weeks of consolidation, which is what we're getting. And then, of course, as you know, there's hawkish Fed talk, so there's a bit of a tantrum the market's having. But between now and year end, we still have really good seasonals. The earnings have been good. Sentiment has flipped negative, Scott, as you could tell. I mean, the AAI went to negative 17.5. So I'd say the risk reward is still really good for equities into year end. And yeah, I think the S&P will be over 7,000 by the end of the year. In fact, maybe over 7,000 by the end of the month.
So even though the first few weeks of November have been super choppy for assets like Bittensor in the crypto market, Tom Lee thinks we end the year up. So if we get a bullish market, Bittensor can potentially ride the wave. And we also have the halving coming up in 20 days, right? So the amount of inflation of Bittensor, the amount of selling pressure is essentially going to be cut in half in 20 days. That takes us to the middle of December. And so if we want to see how Bittensor behaves around its halvings, we can look at how Bitcoin behaved around its halvings. The Bitcoin halving that might be the most relevant for where TAO is the 2016 halving. July 9, 2016, that was the date of a Bitcoin halving. So if we look at the price of Bitcoin on July 9, 2016, it was $658. What happened within a month and a half after that? Well, if we look at the end of August, the price action of Bitcoin was actually $600. It was actually relatively flat. So the halving within the first month and a half did not impact the price of Bitcoin. Let's look at the next halving, which took place on May 11, 2020. The price of Bitcoin was $8,700. A month and a half later, the end of June, the price of Bitcoin was about $9,000. So if we're looking at the price action of Bitcoin around its halvings, we didn't get massive bull runs within a few weeks after the halvings. Now, of course, if you just had some patience, you would have made life-changing returns. So to make that prediction, you have to look at different scenarios. If we get a massive bull market like Tom Lee expects in December 2025, then Bittensor will ride the wave and hit $1,000 per token. If we have a flat market, the halving most likely will not move it at all. And that's what we saw with Bitcoin. It took a few months for the effect of the halving to really percolate and to get those life-changing returns. Does not happen in the first few weeks. So if we have a flat crypto market, nothing. If Tom Lee's prediction is correct, we do get a massive spike in TAO. I'm not saying it's going to mimic Bitcoin's price action around its halvings. It could do a lot better. Remember, TAO is already starting to, and has always outperformed Bitcoin, been more successful than Bitcoin, and that's because the technology that's being created, remember, it's incentivizing capitalism. So to understand TAO, you have to understand its subnets. Let's dive into what is going on with subnet 31 candles. Again, if you want to know some of the other subnets, look at some other deep dives. Today we're talking about candles. What is candles? It's pretty exciting because it is actually one of the most revolutionary use cases of crypto. Polymarket meets DraftKings. Candles provides prediction market capabilities. We know how massive Polymarket is. We know how massive Kalshi are. They run on top of blockchains. Well, this is Bittensor's answer to it, right? Great technology. The Bittensor ecosystem is massive. So we already know the use case is strong. We know the community is big. We know it will rally around subnets like this. So that right there excites me a lot. As an early stage venture investor, which is what we are, that excites me. So what are candles prediction markets? This is Bittensor's homegrown prediction market, starting with TAO/USD candle color and price predictions. So first it's going to start with just price predictions around TAO. Then it's going to expand to all other prediction markets. It's going to combine inspirations from daily fantasy sports sites like DraftKings and FanDuel and prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi. Very exciting use case for crypto, and this is TAO's homegrown version. The public prediction market pools will allow anyone to participate in Bittensor without needing expensive compute, technical knowledge, or needing to register a miner and still get rewarded in Subnet 31 Alpha. So that explains what candle prediction markets are. We like the use case, right? It's already a proven use case. The question is, can it be marketed? To answer that, let's dive into the team. Let's look at the team's experience. Well, Gus is the lead developer. He was an original member of the Open Tensor Foundation development team. That's very, very, very good. That means he's connected. That means Bittensor will rally around this asset. They could potentially hype it up if it's successful. He was a senior Python developer at the Open Tensor Foundation until September 2024. We have Crypto Mind, business development, strategy, and communications. Subvortex co-founder, no longer affiliated with that. We have Chernobog, business operations, quality assurance, and partnerships. Nash Chain co-founder, Subvortex co-founder as well. Subvortex was really closely aligned with Const. Subvortex manages the Bittensor blockchain. I guess it wasn't stimulating enough to just manage a blockchain. They wanted to do something bigger. I like that the team behind this subnet came from Subvortex, because Subvortex was really important. They literally managed the blockchain infrastructure, and they were close with Const, or Jake Steves, the head of the Open Tensor Foundation. BD Himes, technical advisor. Latent Holdings, senior developer. Former Open Tensor Foundation, Cortex, core contributor to Bittensor, BTC-LEI, and Async Substrate Interface. I love how connected they are. Latent Holdings is the company that Joseph Jacks essentially runs. He manages OSS Capital, which is a hedge fund that's investing tens of millions of dollars into Bittensor. I love how deeply connected this team is to the thought leaders of the space. Joseph Jacks, Jake Steves. That is massive. So that's a little bit of the team, and it highlights the team's experience. Let's talk about the alpha token use case. You only want to buy the token if it can go up, right? What is the token actually used for? All TAO deposits minus fees are used to buy back Subnet 31. So as capital enters this prediction market, they're going to be buying back the token. That is very good. Upward buying pressure. Everything in the site uses Subnet 31 Alpha as the currency. Pool entries, payouts, and withdrawals are all in Subnet 31. All deposits turn TAO into locked alpha for the duration of the pools and until user withdrawal. So that kind of highlights how the alpha token is the currency within the system. That's utility. So we have utility, we have buying pressure, we need adoption. But if we get adoption, we have buying pressure, and we have utility around this asset. Very exciting, because this is a very low market cap asset. So we have utility around the token. Again, we're going to need adoption, but the only way for any of these subnets to be sustainable is to earn massive amounts of revenue. And that's what we like about Bittensor. It's decentralized capitalism. All these subnets are going to have to earn cash flow. Subnet 31 is going to earn revenue on every entry fee with a similar fee model to DraftKings and FanDuel. We know how successful these multi-billion-dollar fantasy and prediction markets are. They're following the exact same playbook. We've seen how much revenue these massive organizations can generate. All this subnet needs is a little bit of adoption, and it can generate the same amount of revenue. So that explains how Subnet 31 earns revenue, and it has multiple revenue streams. The Subnet 31 protocol fee is 30% of every entry into every pool. Protocol fees will be taken in TAO to avoid Subnet 31 sell pressure. And so similar to those massive multi-billion-dollar successful organizations, Subnet 31 is supposed to have multiple revenue streams. The back-end structure of everything built can be easily adapted to all other prediction markets, such as sports, politics, entertainment, global events. Very exciting, because we know how bullish prediction markets are. And so you're going to have multiple revenue streams across every single potential use case for prediction markets and potentially fantasy sports. So this is how it works. This comes from this team. This is the flow of deposits and emissions. So you have TAO deposits and Subnet 31 alpha deposits going to public pool entries. This pays the entry fees for the pools, the various pools. 30% of that goes straight to the protocol. Fees from entries go to the Subnet 31 protocol treasury. That funds operations, it funds marketing, and it funds alpha token buyback. So again, if we get any adoption of this protocol, we get buying pressure. So that's what we really have to watch for. We're so early, just a little bit of adoption. The protocol treasury also grows from community-created pool fees and memberships. So that's where 30% of the protocol fees go. 70% go to winners. The winners pool, winners payouts 90 to 110% of entry fees. That is the incentive for using this subnet. I love that, right? So this is how organic adoption can occur. If you are correct, you are going to get paid. So if you can be right, you're going to get paid a portion of these fees, and that's going to attract more and more people, right? The Bittensor ecosystem is massive. People love investing. People love speculating. This is very synergistic. The Open Bittensor Foundation is most likely going to be pumping this. Latent Holdings is most likely going to be pumping this. That's going to draw eyeballs. That's going to draw adoption. That can help us predict whether or not this is going to get adoption. Remember, if it gets adoption, it gets buying pressure. Love it. Very positive. So that explains the flow of deposits and emissions. And it's going to start off very small, but Subnet 31 will be expanding to all prediction markets. Those are going to include sports, politics, entertainment. So election years are going to be huge, right? 2026 is a midterm election year. That's when these prediction markets really get massive. So election years are going to be big for the adoption. Again, I love how it's taking advantage of the massive Bittensor community. We've seen how hugely successful these prediction markets are. It almost has guaranteed adoption, which gets very, very, very exciting to me. This is also ridiculously exciting. Community-created pools. Subnet 31 holders will be able to lock alpha, allowing them to create pools with revenue sharing opportunities. So people can be entrepreneurial. They can create their own pools. Pool creators will decide what they believe will be the most popular events for their pools and design what the binary and detailed predictions will be. Creators will be competing with each other and incentivized to design the best pools and to market their pools. That is organic. You don't need the team to necessarily be creating pools. The community can organically create their own. We love democratizing technology so communities can create their own pools. Love seeing that, right? You're empowering people to be entrepreneurs in this space. If Polymarket enabled this, it'd probably grow a lot faster. This is massive. If communities are empowered to create their own pools, communities will create their own pools, and they're going to profit from it, and that is massive. So community-created pools are a huge aspect of this. Major benefits for this ecosystem. Again, really exciting, personally. I get excited by this. If you want to learn more about this subnet, there's a link to www.candlestao.com in the video description. And if you want to learn how to invest in these subnets and earn ridiculous passive income from these very early stage, tiny market cap subnets, you can reach out to me on Patreon, but have to highlight what is going on with these tiny cap assets that are paying off ridiculous passive income to stakers, that have strong teams, big network effects, almost guaranteed adoption because they're deeply connected and part of massive ecosystems and are going to get eyeballs, and strong use cases and technology. That's what's going on in Bittensor. That's why the token is valuable, because it's incentivizing human potential. It's decentralized capitalism. Really doesn't get more exciting than this. Can TAO reach $1,000 in 2025? It can. It depends on the crypto market. If Tom Lee is right, we hit $1,000 per token for TAO. If not, then the halving might not mean so much in the early weeks. But just like Bitcoin, we can expect life-changing returns shortly thereafter, a few months thereafter. And again, TAO has already been way more successful than Bitcoin, so I would expect it to outperform Bitcoin's price action around its halvings. Thank you for watching. Reach out if you have any questions. Appreciate you.